I'm Christine Frizzell. This morning, the Trump administration is asking questions about why an investigation into Ambassador John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor, was frozen by the Biden administration. A search of Bolton's home and office last week revealed the investigation has now been reopened. When FBI agents descended upon Ambassador John Bolton's Maryland home and his D.C. office last week, questions began to accumulate.
What were they looking for?
The White House insisting the FBI is only continuing an investigation it previously started in 2020 over whether Bolton sent highly sensitive classified documents to his family from a private email server while serving as national security advisor during Donald Trump's first term.
He released massive amounts of classified and confidential but classified information. That's illegal.
An investigation halted by the Biden administration.
Unlike the Biden DOJ and the Biden FBI, our law enforcement agencies are going to be driven by law and not by politics. Our focus here is on, did he break the law? Did he commit crimes against the American people? If so, then he deserves to be prosecuted.
Following his time in the White House, Bolton wrote a book that was highly critical of Donald Trump.
Trump has this impression that foreign leaders, especially adversaries, hold him in high regard. I believe they think he's a laughing fool.
Bolton was on now FBI Director Kash Patel's so-called enemies list. Critics say the action is part of a disturbing pattern of Trump targeting those not only who criticize him, but whose assessments he doesn't like the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who was fired after a report that showed disappointing job growth, and the firing this week of the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, who drafted a report which contradicted President Trump's assertion that the U.S. had obliterated nuclear sites in Iran during a June attack.
Anyone who stands up to the president, anyone who criticizes the president, anyone who says anything adverse to the president's interests gets the full weight of the federal government brought down on them.
Trump's supporters have a different take.
This is not political retribution. This is accountability.
Now, prior to these FBI searches, President Trump had already revoked John Bolton's security clearance and his Secret Service protection, which he had gotten following threats to his life connected to Iran. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Former National Security Advisor John Bolton under federal investigation, accused of sending classified documents to his family from a private server while working for the White House. Now, this forced an FBI raid of both his home and office, which President Trump said he first learned about after seeing it on television. Joining us to discuss is former superintendent of the Chicago PD and retired special agent in charge of the FBI, Jody Weiss. Jody, good morning to you. First,
good morning.
John Bolton criticized and attacked Trump's handling of classified documents after the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, and yet here we are. He's being investigated for leaking classified documents. Talk about the sheer hypocrisy of the left right now, who is calling this politically motivated. So then, what was the raid on Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, the hypocrisy is pretty rich, isn't it? You look at what happened at Mar-a-Lago. You know, all we heard after that search, or raid, if you want to use the term that is more appropriate, was no one is above the law, that let the process play out. And yet those very same people today are saying how chilling this search of John Bolton's residence was, that it's a threat to democracy, that it's revenge. Do you know what I call it, Jan? I call it accountability. The lawfare that was waged against Donald Trump, if that goes unchecked, as the left has told us to do, just move on, there's nothing here, just move forward. If that goes unchecked, there will be no deterrent for such behavior in the future. But this time, the administration needs to be smart. They need to look at real crimes, not politics, crimes that are supported by actual facts. And then they need to effectively message what they're doing to the American people. Explain why you focused on John Bolton. Explain what you were looking for. Explain the process. After a thorough analysis of those items taken, if there's nothing there, tell us nothing there. If there is something there, explain how the process moves forward. But this has to be addressed this way, and I do think it's accountability for what happened in the past. Cannot happen again.
Yeah. And this was executed, by the way, by FBI Director Kash Patel. And again, Trump said he didn't know anything about it, and he first learned about it when he saw it on TV. And I think you were just talking there about the process. Explain how it works. How are FBI search warrants obtained?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. There's got to be two things. There's got to be probable cause that a crime committed. There's got to be probable cause that evidence of said crime is going to be at that location. An agent will then go in front of a judge and he will swear to those facts. The judge will then decide if those facts actually support the issuing of a search warrant. that warrant's going to be very specific as to the location and what can be seized. So in this case, the judge found that the probable cause stated in the affidavit, which we haven't seen yet, but it was satisfied, the facts were satisfied, and he issued a search warrant. So it's pretty straightforward.
When are we going to see that affidavit, do you think?
Oh, that's what everybody wants to see, because that'll explain why that took place. It'll explain what the agents were looking for, and that's important. I think as soon as possible is be much better. The American public wants to know, what were you looking for? What's going on?
How long? What's the holdup? How long does that take typically?
You know, it can take a long time. If it's under seal, a lot of it will be dependent upon when it's going to be released. So I'm hoping sooner than later.
Another big headline we're following this morning has been this explosive juvenile crime here in D.C. On August 3rd, a member of Doge tried to stop a carjacking and was literally beaten to a pulp. You can see the picture right here. A 15-year-old boy and girl were arrested and held at a youth services center until their hearing that happened this past Thursday. They were released. The girl is going to be sent to a youth shelter. The boy is going to be released to his mom and under this electronic monitoring. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think Judge Pirro said it great. There's zero consequences for this behavior when it's handled this way. You look at that victim. He had a concussion. He had a broken nose. He was beaten severely, had to get EMS attention. And this actions of this judge, it sends no deterrence, Jan, none whatsoever. Yes, the laws need to be changed, but until they are, this is going to keep going on. People ask, so why did Donald Trump send the National Guard into D.C.? This is a perfect example. This lax approach to juvenile crime has to be addressed. And I think until D.C. starts getting their act together, treat violent crime serious, and show that they can police effectively, this is going to keep going on. And this federalization of the Capitol, I think it's the only way, at least right now, to bring peace to the streets of our Capitol.
Yeah, and very quickly, when we talk about the suspects in this, I mean, we're talking about 15-year-olds. They're children. You know, these are like young teens. They're children. And you've mentioned before, this is the problem with recidivism. It literally happens so often with the youth, with young people, because they aren't held to, you know, the same standards as perhaps an adult. Should that change?
Of course, 100%. What's going to happen with these kids? They take part in this crime. Nothing really happens to them. So do you think they're going to do it again? Of course. There has to be consequences, and you have to treat kids doing this level of violent crime as an adult and send that message. That's the only way to stop this.
Former superintendent of the Chicago PD and retired special agent in charge of the FBI, Jody Weiss. Always great to see you, sir. Have a great week.
You too, Jan. Thank you.